said to open the economy, what steps? Well,
what steps do you think the country should take to reopen the economy? Like, we should reopen workplaces to healthy, non-elderly individuals who don't live with vulnerable people. At-risk individuals with jobs should continue to have opportunities, work from home or to receive paid medical leave. And we should reopen businesses that may not be essential but can be safely operated while maintaining appropriate physical distancing. Since House did make a very good point that going into a pizza shop, going into your CVS, even going into that Zoe's Kitchen, one person or two people in at a time, they're handling it, they're still distancing from us, and there's one worker back there that's actually preparing the food. And we're still going to these places and practicing the social distancing and wearing of the mask. So what do you think? What steps do you feel or you think would be smart to go in a direction to reopen the economy by taking certain steps? What do you feel? How do you want to start?
I don't think that we should reopen the economy. I mean, I think we should do whatever we do. I think it should be slow, and we should go into this looking at it slowly. You know what I'm saying? I think we should still be practicing social distancing. We should be wearing our masks. We should be wearing our gloves, things to keep us from getting it and giving it to someone else. So I think everything should be slow and until we figure it out. Especially if you go by what other countries have done. I think it only worked in China because it was a dictatorship, and the government enforced it like that. Here we are a democracy, and we have our own freedoms. So we have a right to our own opinions and our own thoughts. So some of us are gonna cooperate, and others are not. So just to be expected.
Correct. Right.
But whatever we do, I think it needs to be slow.
Correct. I like your opinion on that, House. Daryl, you have some insight about that, and then I'll give you guys my final point, because it's something interesting happening in East Asian countries currently, that they're doing something with technology. I'll state that once you say your opinion, Daryl.
Okay, well, I agree with House. It should be a slow, phased-in approach. I think they can sit back, again, continue social distancing. I mean, for a while, we're going to have to deal with the new economy. I know a lot of people who traditionally would go into offices or, the place of business to work are now working from home, and that might be the new normal, for at least for the next year or so. But all in all, there should be a slow, phased-in approach, combine testing, maintaining social distance, and then working on what might be a cure, and then see how people can best continue to work and contribute to the economy without necessarily being close together. And I think phase one would be, again, you initiate widespread testing, and then phase two, you gradually expand on the economy. And for those people who can work from home, there are a lot of jobs, particularly in high-tech positions, who can easily work from home. In fact, telework, they call it, in some circumstances, people are doing that. Okay, so that should be implemented wherever there's a possibility that people can work from home. Let them work from home.
I agree, because even like myself, I had to talk to my doctor. And even in your doctor's offices and hospitals, she and I FaceTimed. I was able to talk to her about some of my concerns, about something I felt like I needed assistance with. She was able to take everything in, give an assessment, and gave me specific instructions on what I needed to do. If I needed to go into the hospital for a lab testing for something, it was just an individual visit with myself. No one was actually in there. and it was safe, effective, and I got my situation resolved. So this is something that I wanted to mention to you guys, and maybe this will be of help since we are in this techie world. In recent months, East Asian countries like Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea have deployed a much more sophisticated version of contact tracing, in which Bluetooth or GPS-enabled smartphones help officials automatically alert those who have recently been in close contact with an affected individual. So the U.S. companies are working on versions of technology, including some with robust privacy protection. So they're trying to say that if we succeed in encouraging people to use the contact tracing app in the U.S., we may be able to control the spread of COVID-19 with the modest levels of testing we already have. Do you think that's a smart way of doing it? Because everyone has a smartphone nowadays and GPS and Bluetooth to track them. What do you think about that? Either one of you men can chime in. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me finish it up. A key virtue of contact tracing is that it can work in an environment where testing for SARS-CoV-2 is far from universal. Indeed, if we succeed in encouraging people to use the contact tracing app in the U.S., we may be able to control the spread of the COVID with the modest levels of testing we already have. Do you think that's something good, like a good strategy? Are you with me, House?
Yes. To
Okay.
be honest with you, I really don't know. I mean, I agree with you. A lot of people I don't know how you would have it hooked up to your cell phone, or how that would work, or would you have to go back and get another cell phone? It depends on what the process is with doing that.
Right.
You know, is
right.
your phone currently capable of doing this?
Well, with the way there's, so what they're saying is, if we were to use our just the Bluetooth that we already have and your GPS, it could track and trace the amount of individuals that have been exposed to people that are affected with this. And then we would be able to monitor the amount of individuals that have already been tested, and then we can control the level of testing that we already have. And they're already putting this intact in East Asian countries, Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea. So they've already started, and the U.S. is starting to work on this version of technology, including some with robust privacy protection. So I think it would be something interesting to dive deep into, because everybody's being tracked. You can be traced and tracked with the chip in your card to the Bluetooth. Everyone has a Bluetooth on their phones. Even if you have a basic smartphone, you still have Bluetooth and GPS on that phone.
Wow. But how are you? The question is, how are you going to track that? Let's say even when we have Bluetooth on our phones, but we got the right to turn it off.
Yeah, we do.
So what if someone decides that they're going to turn it off? How are you going to track it then?
They're being resistant, but if they can approve and mandate this, that people can enable the smartphones to help officials automatically alert those, then we have something to control the amount that we are getting, like receiving with statistics, so we can understand the amount of testing that needs to be done, the amount of individuals that it's being affected by. And the U.S. is already implementing this or starting to do this. This could help us, that we can work in an environment where testing for this is universal. And you just encourage people to use the contact tracing app it can control the spread of the virus. If it's going to help control the spread, then I'm all for it. And that's what technology is for. So what do you think about that? Do you feel like that could be an option? House, are you still with me? Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I think both of my callers are having some issues with the phone lines, but I wanted to thank both of the gentlemen for being on the show today. If you do hear me, you can chime in. But what I'm going to do is close this out with my final thought for this afternoon. We covered a lot of territory today based on the current events that are affecting the world as we live in currently. And this pandemic has affected us in our economy and the way that we are moving forward in this world. Things are not going to go back to normal. We should really focus on the social distancing, staying at home, and not be so quick to jump back in to society for non-essential things. The spread of this virus is continuing. Numbers are still growing, and precaution does need to be done. So with that said, this is what needs to, in my opinion, reopening the economy is not merely about livelihoods, but also about lives. All of us can see the mounting mental and emotional toll that it's taking on all of us with this lockdown. And we've learned a great deal in recent years about how high unemployment increases and deaths of despair. So if we keep these urgent problems in mind and not just infection rates and case fatality ratios, we may yet find our way out of this crisis. And I think that needs to be what's kept in mind currently. This is Ty Jones. I want to thank my guests that were on the show today, Aaron Woodhouse out of Atlanta, Georgia, and my guest, Daryl Hines of Atlanta, Georgia. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Blog Talk Radio this afternoon. Stay safe. Stay at home. If you don't have to go out today and you have all your basic essentials, your food, your water, and things necessary to be in the house, stay home. If you have to go out, practice hygiene with washing of the hands when you enter back in, even washing your clothing. Keep on your mask. Wear your gloves. Don't dump gloves and masks on the street, or don't do that. That's so disrespectful. Let's take care of our planet so we can take care of us. This is Love Jones Ty with Blog Talk Radio, and thank you and have a wonderful evening and be safe.